and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we are going to introduce you to an artist and craftsman who lives in Hampton and whose concern is also environmentalism. And so you can see how those two work together. My guest is Kanisha Haskins. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is so fun because I saw you a number of times at craft shows, farmers markets in Hampton. Had no idea you lived here because a lot of times people come from other places.
Right.
But I'm so interested with how your business started. So let's start there and then we'll show off what it is you do.
Okay. Well, I was a student at Thomas Nelson here in Hampton, and we were looking for, I was in the science club, we were looking for a project to showcase being green for Earth Day. And I was looking at different things online, and I found some information about crocheting with plastic grocery store bags. And my first thought process was, it doesn't even make sense. So I gave it a try, and the more I tried it, the better things started coming out. So people started saying, hey, you should be out there selling this. So I kind of fell into it, and here we are 5 years later.
Okay, but when you hear crocheting with grocery bags, I've seen people do it and there's some cute stuff, but it's mostly big.
Right.
It's like rugs or big, thick diaper bags. And what you do is much more delicate and refined, and the way you use colors. So how did you get to this?
Trial and error, a lot of trial and error. The first few things that I made, they weren't the best. So
well, that's true of everybody.
They weren't the best. So I just continued to practice, and like I said, I've actually made this my full-time job. So I get up in the morning and I make my coffee, and I said, what am I going to make today? And I try to cultivate as many different bags from as many different places as I can. I actually have a dresser, and each drawer is a different color of plastic bags all cut up and ready to go. So, yeah.
So this is so cute. And how did you end up, it's such a great gift for kids and even little kids because you could, it's indestructible, right?
Well, it's plastic, so it can, it's kind of durable. It's pretty durable.
It's pretty sturdy.
Yeah. My thought process was that would be something good for little kids because you can take it outside and play with it. You can take it to the beach with you.
You can wash it when
Absolutely.
it gets dirty.
Absolutely. And you just hang it up and let it dry, and then you guys go and play again. So that was, I have two little boys. Well, they were little boys.
They were when you started.
Absolutely. They're older now.
Once upon a time.
And my mother has worked in childcare for years, so she's always been on me to stress to make sure that these things are child safe. So I try not to use the little buttons and the beads for eyes.
Right. You've got the stitched on here so that it's...
So I don't want any choking hazards. And like you said, I try to make sure everything is machine washable because we have little kids and we know that they love to put things in their mouth. So you want to make sure that, they're safe for them to have.
Okay, now I'm looking in here. It is also stuffed with plastic bags, right?
I try to use as much of the bag as I can. So what I do is I cut the bags down into strips, that little bottom part.
Let's see, because you brought some with us. I want to see what it looks like.
This is actually what 1 pound of plastic grocery store bags looks like. And just a little FYI, as a family of 4, we go through about 500 plastic grocery store bags in a year. Each bag weighs about 5 grams. So if you kind of do the math, it kind of tells you about how many bags we're kind of putting out there into the environment. And for the most part, people don't actually take them back to the store to be recycled. You're not supposed to put them in the recycling bin.
I never wonder if, I know the stores have those bins, but I've seen people throw coffee, so I don't know if they're even if I take them to the store, are they actually recycled?
That's a good question. So that way, at least I know that every bag that I get my hands on won't end up floating around in a tree or end up in a landfill, which we already have too many of, and too much stuff going into them anyway.
And the tree or the waterways are the big dangers, especially the waterways, because they're so lightweight and they float around and animals can suck them in
They
or
think
get
they're jellyfish.
wrapped around them. I mean, it's a real danger.
Absolutely.
And as close as the water, as we all live to the water, a lot of them can end up in there.
So I think it's everybody's job to just do a little bit to kind of make a big difference. So, yeah.
Okay, so you have other stuff for kids. Now this one is not of the plastic.
No, this is actually all my scraps of yarn. So what happens is everything I make, there's always a little bit of sewing at the end. So there's always a little tail here or a piece of yarn this long, or I can't do anything with them. So I put them all in a bag, and when I get them all together, that's usually what happens.
Like a rainbow.
And then he's stuffed with T-shirts and scraps of fabric, and that way we can keep those things out of landfills as well. And again, it helps me to make sure that you can put them in the washing machine and put them in the dryer.
So what is so interesting and so different about what you do is it's very, unfortunately, we should all be this conscious, but very millennial to be really concerned about the environment and to take that on, but also very, I'm going to say this, don't be offended, sort of grandma-ish to be crocheting. And so it takes that new and the old and comes up with something very modern.
I like the way you said that.
I'm sorry.
I like the way you said that. But no, and it does make sense because a lot of times people will ask me, well, do you make cup holders or do you make coasters or do you make blankets? And I can do those things, but they're not quite as fun. I enjoy the challenge. And crocheting is such a utilitarian art form. You asked me if I thought of myself as an artist earlier.
Right.
I don't necessarily, because I don't. When we consider art, I guess we think about pictures or paintings or things like that. So I don't necessarily consider myself an artist, but I guess at the end of the day, we are creating art, aren't we?
You are. Well, and my dad used to say, I'm not an artist, I'm a craftsman, because he made things to be used, and he made a distinction.
And I think
that way.
that maybe that's a distinction that I don't always make, that art can be utilitarian.
Mm-hmm.
It can be something that's purposeful and useful, and not necessarily something that is just for display or for decoration. So.
It's really neat. So let's see what else you brought. You have a couple of dolls. We'll go through the rest. Oh, a mermaid. 2 mermaids. Look how sweet.
They've kept me really, really busy. Mermaids are like my biggest seller. I don't know. I think I've made about maybe 150 over the past 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's the city symbol for Norfolk.
It is.
And I've done a
it's
few
very
events
popular.
over there. So.
But also, we live in an area with water. Mermaids are this wonderful mythology that we get to own here, I think.
And I so enjoyed them.
And you can do them in all colors, their outfits and everything.
And I think every little girl should be able to have a doll that looks like them. So I try to make them reflective of everyone. Well, thank you.
Okay, and this I am really interested in. Because I thought it can be a shopping bag, it could be a purse, but you designed it.
I made it for a friend of mine, Wendy Isles. She was the inspiration behind it.
Who does the community gardens
yes,
here in
from
Hampton.
Hampton Grows. We're both Hampton Master Gardeners, and she was looking for something for her garden. And so what she does is she keeps one on a hook out in the garden, and when she picks the squash and things, she puts them directly in the bag, takes the bag, puts it in the kitchen in the sink, and just rinses it out in the bag. And then you just hang it back up and go.
It's such a good idea. Now, see, squash, not so much because they're big. I can carry those. But do cherry tomatoes, or if you're picking like kale or greens, you know, smaller things, it's a perfect idea.
And I figured it's just big enough that you could take it to the beach too.
Yeah,
So,
and it can live outdoors. Like you can't do that with a canvas bag. You
Absolutely.
can't do that. Such a good idea.
Thank you.
And then you have a little wristlet here.
It's just big enough for your cell phone. So if you're just running out to the store, you're going to a concert, you don't need everything with you.
Right, your
There
cell
you go.
phone, your ID, your credit card, right here.
Grab it and go.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
So now I can't remember where we were. I think it was a workshop about trying to get a farmer's market back downtown.
Yes.
But you were saying that there's a market in Virginia Beach that's very conscious. It's a crafts market, but it is specific, and I don't want to promote Virginia Beach too much,
Right.
but I love this idea.
Well, I participate. It's the Old Beach Green Market. I have a flyer. I don't know if you want to see it or not. But it's at 19th Street and Cypress Avenue, right at the oceanfront. It's all eco-friendly, green, and upcycle products. There's also a farmer's market there and an art market. I really enjoy participating. It's such a great communal, creative spirit. And I would love to see something like that in our city. I think we have such a great potential. There's so many awesome artists, so many great local businesses right here in this area. I think we could definitely benefit from having something like that here in our city too.
I think so, and I know you're helping to work on it, and Wendy's helping to work on it, and I really think that idea of upcycled, as you called it, which is recycled and better than it was before.
Absolutely,
Really.
absolutely.
It improves. You know, this
Yes.
is much cuter than the bags it started out being.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, and that's the difference between recycling and upcycling. So to recycle is to reuse something after you have used it for its original purpose. But to upcycle something is to make it better than what its original intended purpose was. So the plastic grocery store bags were originally intended to bring your milk home. The teddy bear comes out a little bit better
Right.
than what the original purpose was.
Are you seeing other craftspeople in Hampton Roads doing, not similar things exactly, but other kind of upcycling projects? Do you think that's kind of a growing trend here?
I think it would be great if it was to continue to grow. I have seen quite a few, like I said, at the Green Market, everything has to be upcycled. So all of the vendors there have those types of products. But the more I've traveled, the more I have seen people starting to repurpose things. We throw away 220 million tons of trash per year into 3,500 landfills across our country. The majority of the things that we throw away can be used for something else. So if we stop consuming and start looking at things that we have already consumed and figure out a different way to use those, I think we would all be, like I said earlier, a lot better off. So just have to start looking at trash a little bit differently than what we do now.
And it's true. In Hampton, our trash doesn't go to a landfill. For the most part, we burn it, creates steam, creates the heat for NASA, and it's a good thing. That doesn't mean we want to add to it,
Right.
because there's a lot of things that can't be burned or that are too large. And honestly, when our current landfill is full, I don't know what we're going to do. Hampton's out of land.
Right.
We're not going to have a place to
Exactly.
put another one. So for our own sakes, we need to think about prolonging the life of what we have and reusing,
Yep,
upcycling, recycling,
Absolutely.
everything that we possibly can.
I definitely agree.
Kanisha, I know that I can find you because when we do craft markets in Hampton, I think you'll be there. But people who don't want to wait, can you tell us your website or how to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. You can always find me on Facebook. I'm always posting pictures. It's
Your business is called
Earthy Child.
Earthy
I'm
Child,
based
because I
in-
don't think I said that.
I'm based in Hampton, so it's facebook.com/Earthy Child. It's all one word, capital E, capital C. I'm also on Instagram. I'm the_Earthy_Child. I have a online store that you can shop at any time. It's marketmkt.com/Earthy Child. And if you check out my Facebook page, you can always keep up with where I'll be next.
Okay. Thank you so much. I can't
Thank
wait
you so
to
much
see
for
you
having
again.
me. Thank you.
Wonderful things.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. I hope that Kanisha has given us all some inspiration about how we can do better about recycling, upcycling, and even if we don't have her creativity, we may be able to buy her products and keep things out of the landfill and support our local artists and craftsmen. Thank you so much.